Rumortime reflects. When my mind is upset, I can change my mindset. Do not be thrown off set. Rumortime reset. Rumortime. To only think of thoughts. I choose to only think kind thoughts. I choose to only think right thoughts. Rumortime reflects. When my mind is upset, I can change my mindset. Thrown off set. Rumortime reset. Rumortime. I choose to only think of thoughts. I choose to only think kind thoughts. I choose to only think right thoughts.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Access Rumortime Conversations live. We may not be live on Facebook today because we were having some challenges on Facebook, but you can find us on YouTube and Twitter, and I think on LinkedIn. It will be, as you know, always recorded. And so if you're unable to catch us on any of those platforms, you can find us once we have come off air and get the full benefit of this recording and this conversation today. So I'm Dr. Yvonne Larrier, as you know, founding president of GC Scored. And we have some amazing other individuals with us today, and I want to introduce our guests, and our guest is none other than Laverne Shaw Bailey, and we're delighted to have you here with us today as you share your personal story about relationship management. And so if the rest of the hosts could introduce themselves.
Sure. I am sending you greetings from South Carolina. I am Dr. G. Geneva Fleming, and so happy to be a part of this conversation today on relationship management. Welcome, Laverne. Glad to have you here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vanessa Kelleybrew. I am also happy to be here and also happy to welcome Laverne. Today is a great day to rumor time.
Rumorize, yes. Rumorize, yes. Awesome. All right, so let's get right in. We kind of had a little late start, like I said, but we're going to make up for it in content and impact. Mm-hmm. All right, so today we're talking about relationship management skills, and I'm going to share my slide with you now so you can get the full benefit of what I'm talking about here. Let's see, how do I get back to this? Share screen. Let's do this. All right, that's not showing up. Okay, here we go. All right, are you guys seeing my screen?
Not yet. Yes.
All right.
It's finally there.
It's up there. Okay, good. So what we're going to be talking about today is connecting and belonging in everyday experiences, relationship management skills. So that's our topic. So here, let's dive right into our educate segment. So we have 3 segments in our show, in our 1-hour show. and that is the educate segment. Then we have equip, and then we have empower. And so, because goal number 2 for GC Scored is to educate, equip, and empower individuals to be able to rumorize their markers to become effective problem solvers and life coaches. So, relationship management skills. This is the definition we're going to be working from today. It's your ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own time. As you become more competent, as you become more competent in managing your own time, you then become equipped to influence, inspire, empower, and positively impact the dynamics of all your relationships. Additionally, our desired outcome is to create bonds with and amongst others so that everyone feels heard, understood, valued, supported, and as though they matter. Okay, so that's what that is. So, Vanessa, could you read this on the screen for us, please?
Sure. Uh, so the qualities of relationship management. So when you do things, do not let selfishness or pride be your guide. Instead, be humble and give more honor to others than to yourselves. Do not be interested only in your own life, but be interested in the lives of others. And that is a scripture that we are using to help us as we talk about how we manage our relationships. And so that scripture can be found in Philippians.
All right, Philippians 2:3-4. Awesome. So, we're going to talk about connectors, disconnectors. We're going to talk about includers and excluders. But before we do all of that, we want to ask Laverne to introduce ourselves, introduce her story as we get into the next portion of our discussion.
So this is my story. This past weekend, I was in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I was doing a training on how to become a facilitator for a curriculum on sexuality and sexual health in children and teens. And on the last day of the seminar, we were all required to take a piece of the curriculum and do a demonstration lesson as a way to practice as we go out to become facilitators in this program. And in my opinion, in this demonstration, I completely bombed. There were 3 of us who were a part of the team, and I was fumbling all over my words. There were long, awkward pauses. I didn't find my legs until the end of my piece. And then at the end of our presentation, we finally got to the end of the presentation, and then the participants were required to give their comments, and they were supposed to say what they thought went well and what we could have done better the next time. And then we, as the leaders, we also had to say what we thought went well and what we thought needed to be done better the next time. And so I gave my example of what I thought was done well. And that was that one of the other participants really supported me. When she would pass by me, she would say, "Good job, you got this, keep going." And then when the group came out to give their words, the general consensus to me was, we really appreciate that we saw you struggling, and that by the end of the demonstration, you were able to pull yourself back together and complete. Like, you didn't quit, you didn't run out of the room, you stayed there and you completed it. And while they were giving me that positive feedback, I started crying, not boo-hooing, but tears were coming out the side of my face, out of my eyes. And so at that point, some other people started, giving me more commendations. And the only thing that I was thinking at that time was, these people probably think that I'm a drama queen and that I'm doing this in order to hear their words of commendation. I was not able to think about just the words that were coming out of their mouth because I was filtering it through these people are not sincere. They're just saying that to me because they probably think I'm a drama queen and they're placating me. So that was the story.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that story and allowing us to rumorize you and being vulnerable. And so we appreciate you. Just want to let you know that from, as we say, Jump Street. Okay. So let's remember, right? Today, what we're talking about is relationship management skills, connecting and belonging in everyday experiences. So, and let me just go over the definition one more time. I think that might be helpful so we can kind of have that in our minds as we dive into this discussion. So here's the definition again of relationship management skills: your ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own time. And we know time is what?
Thoughts,
Thoughts,
interactions,
interactions, mindsets.
mindsets, and emotions.
And emotions. Awesome. As you become more competent in managing your own time, thoughts, interactions, mindsets, emotions, you then become equipped to influence, inspire, empower, and positively impact the dynamics of all your relationships. The desired outcome is to create bonds with and amongst others so that everyone feels heard, understood, valued, supported, and as though they matter. As though they matter. And so we're going to go to relationship connectors and disconnectors. All right. So let's ask Laverne some questions. And so what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, we are rumerizing Laverne. We're taking Laverne through a process that we call rumerizing that uses the RUMERTIME process as a vehicle to move from imbalance to balance and from unconscious living to conscious living. And so we have some questions and we have some discussion to help equip Laverne with some ways of seeing her experience through the lens of the RUMERTIME process. So Laverne, I guess my first question would be, what would you say were the relationship connectors and disconnectors in regards to your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and your emotions while you were in that space over the weekend? All right. Let's start with your thoughts. What thoughts were you having that were, should we go with the disconnectors? Let's go with the disconnectors.
Okay.
What thoughts were you having that disconnected you from self and then from the others? Let's start with that.
So it was a 3-day conference. And so I'm just going to talk about the disconnectors in that moment when I was doing the presentation.
Correct.
So I was supposed to introduce our lesson, and then the other person was supposed to take over, and then I came in at the end. And in my introduction, I already started flubbing and tripping over my words. And it was like 2 sentences that I was supposed to say. So at that point, I already shut down. And in my mind, the thoughts were, I'm going to be terrible. There's no way that I can make this work. And then the other person after me, they were having a few problems. And so then I was like, oh my God, this whole thing is just going to be a mess. There's no way that we'll be able to redeem ourselves. So that those thoughts in and of themselves were disconnected. And I could literally feel my body just shutting down.
So good. So that took us to, so the thoughts were, I'm making this a mess. And my partner is also not helping. So those were the thoughts. The thoughts, the disconnecting thoughts were that.
Yep.
Anybody else wants to talk about the emotions that she said that she experienced?
Yeah, that's a very good disconnect. Thanks for sharing that. My question has to do with, you know, with recognizing, were you able to recognize that that was a disconnect? Because it almost seemed that you recognized that there was some faltering, there was some things that wasn't right. You're flubbing over your words, and you went straight to making. You went straight to the outcome. Oh, this is going to be a mess. You know, and you know,
Those were
not
the
breathing
thoughts.
and
Those were the
pausing.
thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, did you even? No, you didn't do it. You didn't stop. You didn't stop. You didn't pause to recognize what you were thinking in that minute. You know, which really goes to speak to the value and the importance of recognizing the process, right? Recognizing those competencies of recognize and understand, because it can happen so fast. So yeah, so just listening, it sounds like you didn't allow yourself to think about what you were thinking about.
No, I just thought it. I didn't think about what I was thinking. I just thought it. I messed up. And then immediately I was like, this is going to be terrible.
Right. So the disconnecting thoughts were, I messed up.
Mhm.
And because I messed up, my interaction was messing up. My thought that came to my consciousness was, I am a mess. This other person is a mess. And then you stated something about emotions. What did you say? You said immediately you began to feel what?
My body just was tightening up. I
Right.
didn't feel relaxed in my body. My shoulders were real high, you know, like this, and my
Yes.
fingers at my hand. I was holding onto a mic, and my hand was clutching the mic really tightly.
You were white knuckling the mic. Right. And so those were, so your emotions were, how would you describe? So that was how your body was experiencing, that's how your body was acting or reacting, which is interactions.
Yeah.
What would be the words, the emotion words that made you white knuckle it?
I was feeling afraid
Okay.
of being a total failure in front of all of these people.
Mhm.
I was already beginning to feel disappointed in myself.
Mhm.
And I was already beginning to feel, I think, a little ashamed. Like, I'm just, who am I to be here doing this thing?
Awesome. So we see the thoughts. I just want to, because we want to restate this so that individuals could see the process that we're taking Laverne through. So the thoughts were, Vanessa, could you summarize the thoughts again? What were the thoughts? Thoughts are pictures or ideas we have in our heads.
So the thought was that because she was messing up, she believed people would think, what is she doing here? What is she doing here? And can she do this? So those were the thoughts that came from that also led to the emotions that she said that she was experiencing. So
Okay.
she had a reaction from her body, the tensing up, and the emotion that also led to that reaction was that she was feeling embarrassed, possibly disappointed.
Okay. So I want to be, I want the listener to be very clear. The thoughts were, what were the thoughts? Laverne, tell us the thoughts again.
I am a mess.
Okay.
I don't deserve to be here.
Good.
This whole thing is going to be a mess because of me.
Right. It's just a mess.
Everything is a mess.
Okay. So those were the thoughts. And the reason we're really teasing this out is because we want you to learn the process that every one of us, every single one of us goes through, right? So those thoughts were disconnected thoughts. They disconnected Laverne from feeling good about herself, right? They disconnected her from relating Remember, we're talking about relationship management, right? So those thoughts were disconnectors. Then we look at the interactions. The interactions, Laverne, what were those interactions? Your body, first we start with your body,
So my shoulders were tight and my hand was clenched on the mic. I wasn't moving around as much. I was stuck really to the floor. So that prevented, that was disconnecting from the other people in the room who I was supposed to be engaging with.
Right. Go ahead. Oh, those were the interactions. And interactions, as we know, are behaviors, actions, reactions. And those are with yourself internally as well as externally, right? Intrapersonally as well as interpersonally. And so we have Eugenia Mercer says that, yep, I often feel like a mess. I can relate. Thank you. Thank you, Eugenia. Is this the same Eugenia I know? Okay, we'll have to have a conversation. And so those were the thoughts, those were the interactions. And Vanessa mentioned the emotions. Let's go to mindsets, because that is key as well, right? And we know that thoughts, I wish Dr. G had some grapes on her right now, but she doesn't. So we usually have thoughts, we look at thoughts as grapes, right? And each grape is a thought. Each thought is a grape. A mindset is a cluster of grapes. And so it's a way of seeing the world that was developed as a result of recurring thoughts, recurring thoughts. So yes, it is Eugenia. Hey sis. And so so the mindset Laverne had, what was the mindset you had, Laverne?
So there were some other thoughts that I was having while the other presenters were doing their part. And those thoughts were, Laverne, you're a teacher. You've taught for so many years. You've taught Sabbath school. You've taught high school. You've taught other courses at church. You're a public speaker. You have all of these skills. How can you be, you should be showing how competent you are right now. You have skills. Why are you not showing that right now? So there were a lot of, you've done these things in the past. You should be performing much differently right now. And the fact that you're not is a complete disappointment.
Geneva and Vanessa.
So when I think of mindset, I'm thinking about beliefs, right? It's what we believe about ourselves. So help us understand what you were believing about yourself, because in that moment, because your thoughts, those additional thoughts that's creating the cluster of thoughts, that mindset, in summation, what were those thoughts causing you to believe about yourself?
That if I'm a professional person, I shouldn't be messing up. That's the mindset. When I put my foot forward in the world, I have this skill set. I should be on point.
All the time.
Professionals don't mess up, right? Professionals don't mess up.
Professionals don't mess up.
Yeah.
People like me don't mess up. I'm outgoing. I'm gregarious. I'm smart. I'm an intellectual. I have skills. People like me should not mess up.
Yeah. Vanessa, there was a statement you said you saw somewhere about shoulds. What is?
So just, regarding our should or our beliefs about what we should do, the statement that I read one time is that we are shoulding all over the place. So I should be doing better than this. I shouldn't be messing up. And, and whatever other shoulds that come from like our mindsets or our beliefs.
Yeah,
I'm putting all over myself.
Putting all over yourself. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that was not a curse word. We said should.
SAULD
That's
ING.
correct.
Thank
ING.
you.
Just want to make sure everybody understands. All right. So you were of this mindset, and again, many of us have these mindsets. And what relationship management skills says, the first part of that definition is that it is one's ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions. Recognizing in the RUMERTIME process is self awareness. Understand is also self awareness, but understand is digging deeper, whereas recognize is listing, acknowledging. Okay. Laverne is what we're doing right now is recognizing her time, that the time that were disconnectors, right? The thoughts, the interactions, mindsets, emotions that were disconnectors. We can spend a little time talking now about understanding, right? Understanding, digging deeper into some of those thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions. Let's just spend 2 minutes on understand, because we want to talk about the connectors and the includers and excluders. All right. So in terms of understanding, digging deeper into the shoulds, let's dig deeper into the mindset. Geneva, you look like you want to say something. What do you want to say?
I'm just thinking, digging deeper into the origins of those thoughts that she's
Right.
thinking. What's the root of those thoughts, really, which creates whatever it is that you're believing. So not even the core, what's the root or the foundation of that belief that because you're a professional and because you're all this, you shouldn't be messing up. You really should have a perfect presentation because of who you are. So what's the root for those thoughts?
Those mindsets, that mindset.
Thank you for correcting. Yes, for that belief. I intended to say belief.
Yeah,
the belief that I'm a professional and I shouldn't.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know exactly, but what I can tell you is that I do that a lot in so many areas of my life. I mean, I think part of the reason is that I'm a pastor's child, and there was a lot of pressure on me to be perfect because my behavior was a direct reflection of my parents' leadership. Both my mother was a teacher for the church that I belonged to, and my father was a pastor in the church that I belonged to. And so there was a lot of pressure that I inflicted on myself and other people inflicted on me to make sure that I behaved in a way that reflected my father's ministry. So I think a lot of it flows from there.
Yeah.
And so those expectations, those shoulds have stayed with you because they occurred during your formative years, right? So that's how, because what mindsets are, they are the lens through which we see the world, right? And they are influenced by so many different elements. And so one of the main elements that influenced your mindset of shoulds, right, was how you were raised.
Yes.
And that has stayed. And so I'm sure there have been other things in your life that have reinforced that should mindset. Because you still have it, right? You still have it. And so even though the foundation was laid at that early developmental stage, it was nourished or it was fertilized throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if you go to college, I have some struggles with my professional life. And so the should is, if you go to college and get a degree, you should have a stable professional life. That was my understanding. I don't have that. And so then again, there's embarrassment and anguish and shame and disappointment about that. So other things keep reinforcing my proclivity to keep shoulding everywhere.
Just shitting all over the place. I wanna welcome Linda Christopher. Hi, Linda. I'm glad you finally found our channel. Welcome. I wonder if there are if Linda or Eugenia have questions or other comments they want to make as we continue.
Mm-hmm.
So Laverne, we've looked at, we went a little deep. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know the RUMERTIME process takes you to the root. Okay, it takes you very deep. We're just kind of giving you what do you call this? We're just whetting your appetite
Mm-hmm.
to what the process that we take people through.
Mm-hmm.
So we recognized and we understood mindsets, right? We recognized the thoughts, the connected thoughts, the disconnected thoughts, I'm sorry, the disconnectors in terms of interactions, the mindsets, and the emotions. We understood the mindsets. We understood the disconnecting mindsets. Again, our topic for today is connecting and belonging in everyday experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go now to including includers and excluders.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Includers and did we talk about connectors, or we just talked about the disconnectors?
We talked about the disconnect.
Yeah,
Right.
let's talk about the connectors.
Yes.
What connected you, Laverne? What are some of the connectors in terms of your thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions, given the experience you had this weekend? Let's look at it now from the helpful part of it, the connecting part of it. What helped to connect you?
So in the moment when I was doing the presentation, one of the other facilitators, she was engaged, so she was walking around, and every time she would pass me, she would say, "You got this, girl. You're fine. We're almost done." So that was very connecting. And then when we came to this debriefing part, and I started crying when the participants were giving their positive responses. That should have been connecting for me, but I was not in a place to receive that at the moment. But I would still say that those comments were connectors.
Good,
And
good.
then on the way from that space to the airport, I was traveling with my girlfriend, and she asked me to just go over what happened because she wasn't there. She was in another group. And so she was also a connector, just allowing me to give voice to what had happened.
Awesome. Vanessa, you had a question earlier about having access to connectors, but not. Could you?
Yeah. So the question that I had is, how important is it for someone who is having those disconnecting thoughts? How important is that for them to be able to give themselves what they need? Because there's not always going to be a time when we have a friend who's going to be there to help support us and provide that ear for us to be able to process. So how important is that to be able to do that for ourselves? And how do we become aware that of those disconnecting moments.
Are you asking me how important it is for me?
So let me flip the question a little bit so we can help the listener to focus on connectors. When I think I'm going to ask the same question, but it's flipping it on the positive side. When connections are opened up, when you have access, when you have been given access to connectors, like your partner, your co-facilitator said, you're doing a good job, keep it up, you're gonna do well, you're gonna make it. What encourages you to walk into that space, that accessible space that she has created? What enables you to connect? And if not, what gets in your way? What barriers get in your way to not allow you to take advantage of that opening of connection? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was not able to take advantage of the connections until I got into the car with my friend. And so, Vanessa, I am very interested in moving that time up closer to when I can be ready to accept the opening, right? When my co-facilitator was, egging me on and encouraging me, I felt that, I heard her, but I was not receiving it. It wasn't changing what I was doing in the moment. But she did that. Then the participants and their responses and commendations, they did that, and they kept planting the seed so that by the time I got in the car, I was actually ready to be open. So I would like to move that, further back so that I don't have to wait until I got into the car.
Right. So when the door is open, you would like to have opportunity to step inside earlier, right, sooner than after the fact, so to speak.
Right.
But it's not really after the fact, right? So I'm listening to you share your story, and I'm thinking to myself how freeing it must be or might be for you to be able to share the story. So what has that done for you? And if that question is Dr. Larrier, just let me know. But how has just being open to share your story, how has that been helpful to you?
So beautiful, because in the prep for this podcast, for this conversation, just before I came on, I was like, okay, now Laverne, remember what happened yesterday. You haven't done a podcast for a while, probably ever. You might flub, you might have some awkward moments. That's okay. So just having shared the story and thinking about some of the things that happened to me yesterday prepared me for today.
Yes.
To lower my expectations so that I'm not getting myself all worked up. If there's some awkward pauses, I'm okay. I'm not a failure if there's awkward pauses. It's fine.
Good.
It sounds like you kept should in the closet.
Good. Awesome. And so
that it's already helped, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right.
Good stuff.
Awesome. And so thank you for that question and for that response, Laverne. And some people may want to know, well, what does this have to do with relationship management skills? Well, it has everything to do with relationship management skills. If you remember, the definition that we used for relationship management skills is your ability to recognize, understand, manage your own time, your own thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions. And so you cannot manage relationships. And when we talk about managing relationships, we're not talking about controlling anybody, right? So I want people to get that clear, because you can't control anyone. We can barely control ourselves. All right. So we are talking about inspiring. We're talking about influencing. We're talking about empowering and positively impacting the dynamics of all your relationships. And those relationships include you. Right. So we first have to recognize and understand all of these the thoughts, the interactions, the mindsets and emotions that we have when we show up as we are relating to other people. Right? That's what relationship management is about. And the outcome of that then is to create bonds amongst others, with ourselves, so that people can feel heard, they can feel seen, understood, valued, and supported. And so, in that situation yesterday, how did you feel like you belonged? How did you feel included? What are some things you did to feel included? Or what are some things the others, even your co-facilitator, did to help you feel included?
Well, before I answer that question, I just want to say how my thoughts impacted my relationships with the participants.
Okay, good.
So because I had those thoughts, we were in a circle, and I had the opportunity to go around to the groups to check in with their activities, and I was still stuck to the floor. So I was not interacting with the participants in the way luckily the other facilitators were there, and so they were, but I was stuck. So my relationship with the participants was directly affected by the thoughts that I was having that just kept me stuck to the floor.
Thank you for bringing that up. I'm thankful. That's a really important point for the listeners to know.
So my relationship with myself was affecting my relationship with the people in my group.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what allowed me to connect was, as I said before, my co-facilitator. She was very connecting and just, quietly passing me by and just like, we got this. We're going to make it to the end. And then when we did the debriefing, then the participants were very kind and generous and pointing out the good in what seemed like a really awful situation, and how I was able to pull myself together by the end of the presentation. And so that was also connecting. And even though I put a thought into my head that they thought I was a drama queen, I want to tell you that over the weekend, I didn't have any evidence from anyone there that was where they would go first. Everybody was affirming. Everybody knew that this was something new for all of us. And so in that way, it was a very connecting weekend.
Okay. And so how could we now, in the last 10 minutes, how could we help our listeners who are on the call with us now, and those who would watch it later on, how could we help them to be facilitators of connecting and facilitators of including? How could we do that? How could we help individuals be that instrument, be that person, acquire that quality of connecting and including? How could we do that?
I think you can be like the person my co-facilitator, who just, you're doing a good job. Any version of you're doing a good job, but also knowing that the person you're saying that to might not be in a place yet to receive that open door. but that you're the person who's planting the seed, so that maybe the third person who does that, they'll be able to walk through the door. And that process is actually allowing that person for the next time, maybe they'll only need 2 people to help them get through the door. And then maybe the next time they will only need 1 person. And maybe the next time they'll be able to do it for themselves.
Right.
Good.
Real good.
So individuals then have to, in order to be a connector and an includer, you really first have to be able to recognize your own self, right? Know where you are, know what is needed, be able to be self-aware, but also socially aware, right? To see the other, to be other focused, right? To be other focused and say, okay, this person needs me now, you know? And to be able to get there, we have to be self-aware and be able to manage ourselves. So, Laverne, how could you be a connector or an includer the next time for others? How could you do that for others now that you've gone through this experience?
Yeah, such a good question. I mean, just to read the room, right? To when you see somebody who looks like they're struggling, just find a way to put your body, put your face, just to do something to let them know you got this, you're going to be okay. And also, my experience now teaches me, and if you still see them crashing and burning, don't think, oh, well, my face didn't do anything. My heads up didn't do anything. No, I'm providing a seed for them to help them get through.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway for me.
Yeah. That's a takeaway for everybody.
Everyone.
Don't give up. Don't get tired of being a connector or an includer. Even if you don't see it immediately, just know that it is being planted. It's being planted.
And it pulls in the skills of empathy too. You know, I'm sitting what Laverne's recommendation is just saying, you're talking about empathetic, you know, expressing empathy to that other person as you are reading the room.
Vanessa?
Yeah, so I have what I hope is a really quick question that you can answer for everyone. And so we've been talking about planting seeds, and Laverne has talked about some of the seeds that were planted for her or within her as a child. And I am sure as she gave us examples about what happened at the workshop, I am sure that there have been other seeds that have been planted in Laverne along the way. So seeds that are positive, seeds that maybe go against or are in opposition of the seeds that were planted in you when you were a child. And so how do people know, or how do they choose which seeds they, what is the word, pull or choose to
plant?
Not plant, but the ones
to nourish and fertilize.
When you what is the term when you pick your crop? So when you are harvesting, yes, that's it. That's the word.
Reaping or harvesting.
Yeah. So how do you know if you have two different types of seeds that have been planted? How do you know which ones to harvest?
Well, you will know it by the fruits, right? You will know the fruits of the seed, right? Each seed has a certain, seeds have the DNA within them, and once they're planted, they're going to grow into whatever the seed is. So if many times though, we as humans are not conscious of the seeds we're planting, and so therefore we're not conscious of the fruit, right? We just see a behavior, and we're like, oh my goodness, where did all this shouldn't come from, right? Where did all of that come from? Little did we know the seeds that were being planted were those seeds of, well, you need to do it this way because, you have to make people see, I am in this position, so you have to behave a certain way, and or you
All the do's and don'ts of
don't,
life. Do's and
right?
don'ts.
And so what we failed as humans to understand that, and that's why we use a agricultural metaphor for this program. What you plant is what you're going to reap.
You
Right?
reap what you sow. Is that what you're saying, Dr. Larrier?
Kind of, right? It sounds a little harsh, but it's a law of nature. If you plant orange seeds, you will get oranges, oranges, right? If you plant apples, you will get. If you plant apple seeds, you will get apples. But somehow in our human mind, we don't we refuse sometimes to see the simplicity of that principle. Now, that doesn't mean you plant a seed of shoulds and you're not able to, do some grafting and some, digging up and some other ways to,
Some cultivating.
to change the fruit, the outcome. But the natural way that things work is if you plant X, you're gonna get X fruit, right? So so that's what I think is where we need to focus. We need to focus on the root. What are we planting? We need to be conscious, right? We need to be conscious about what we're planting because it has long-term repercussions, and it shows up at times and places where we least expect it. If Laverne didn't have that experience this weekend, she would not, at this point, be able to have this story and to have this kind of insight. And we know there are other people, like Eugenia said at the onset. She's like, "Yep, I often feel like a mess. I can relate." That's a person. That's a fruit that was born out of your experience that Eugenia is able to see now and be able to pick from your tree, but also she can now look at her tree. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
This is what I was just thinking, is that you have to be able to recognize the weeds from the fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be.
Oh,
go ahead, Laverne.
well, I was just gonna say, that next time I'm in a situation like this, I'm closer now to being the kind of person who relies on shoulds than I have ever been in my life. Right? I'm moving towards the person who won't be relying on shoulds anymore, but will be planting something else to replace that mindset. And if I hadn't had that experience, maybe I wouldn't be thinking about how far I've come and how much closer I am to being that person.
Exactly. And give yourself permission to make progress and not be perfect. Right? Make progress and not be perfect. And so it's 1:00. Let's get last words. What is the takeaway? Short, 2 words. What's your takeaway?
Remember to recognize and understand before you do anything else.
Okay.
I'm making progress.
Say that again, Laverne.
I'm making progress.
I'm making progress. Yes.
Wonderful.
Vanessa?
Our mindsets are powerful.
Yep.
Indeed, they are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And my final words are progress, not perfection.
Mhm. Good.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Linda and Eugenia. Good to see you guys, and thanks for showing up today, in spite of our challenges we had earlier. Um, it was awesome. Our next live is going to be, who has the date? March. What is it going to be? March what?
Probably the 14th.
The 14th.
It's 2 weeks.
Two
Yes,
weeks.
March 14th.
March 14th. Same time, same place. See you, and we may have Laverne back. Who knows? I think she's an awesome addition to our team. So
Absolutely.
we'll see. And you don't have to shit all over the place, Laverne.
I won't. I won't. I mean, but if I do, then I'm one step closer to not doing it.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
Thank
you.
you
Laverne.
so much.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Laverne.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank
Great
you,
being a
Julie,
part of
for
this
coming
conversation.
on. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a curriculum for your child and youth development program. You're ready for them. Screech! Pump your brakes. Not so fast. Your staff, camp counselors, youth workers, VBS volunteers, teachers, coaches, mentors, etc., need to be educated, equipped, and empowered about child and adolescent social-emotional development, culturally responsive interventions, culturally responsive problem-solving strategies, child and adolescent mental health critical issues, how to recognize, understand, and manage issues related to family dynamics. Why does your staff need this training? Your staff needs this training because what are the benefits for the staff? They will better understand the connections between how their beliefs impact their behaviors. They will have more confidence in their support skills. They will become more socially, emotionally competent themselves. RUMERTIME Prevention Intervention Coaching.